Okay, so you recently carried out a survey on global video surveillance trends, habits, etc. I guess the place to start is, was there a particular sort of reason behind that survey, or was it just literally you wanted to get some ideas of what was going on to help you understand the market a bit more?
Well, there's a number of reasons for it. Okay, and it was a combination of a survey of customers and potential customers, in addition to a kind of mining of data in what those customers are actually doing on the Eagle Eye Cloud VMS. And so we combine those two sets of data. And the goal was to get kind of industry insights in order to see where the industry is headed and provide some of the trends to customers so that they could see, where the industry was going, and then they could, potentially better plot their course within the industry. How popular is cloud? Is cloud becoming a trend that everyone is adopting? Should I be moving my systems to the cloud because these non-cloud systems are going to be discontinued? Those types of, decisions that people and customers need to make about their surveillance systems. We were hoping to kind of, get that data to those customers to help them get insights and better understand. Now, we expect this will probably become an annual report, and it, was a sample of data over 100,000 cameras on our system, and across all 50 states and 90 countries and 133 different camera manufacturers. So it was a massive amount of data that we mined to get this.
Okay, and in terms, you've referenced sort of on-premises and cloud already. So I guess one of the major sort of findings would be who was still doing on-prem versus who'd adopted cloud. And apart from that sort of simple dichotomy, did you also find sort of trends, depending on different parts of the world, regions, etc., as to some kind of snapshot, I guess, of on-prem versus cloud and any regional variations?
Yeah, so we did a survey, and what people said was that they 39% of the time they wanted cloud, and 61% of them wanted on-prem. But it was actually kind of a little bit different once the results were measured on the actual system. So basically, when asked, customers said, hey, I want cloud only 39% of the time, and I want cloud plus on-prem 61% of the time. So they wanted the option of kind of going both ways a lot more than they wanted just pure cloud. But when you actually look at what they did, right, 63% of the people went cloud only, and only 37% went with cloud plus on-prem. And so it was kind of the exact opposite in some ways of what they said they wanted. And we attribute that to once they get on the cloud, they realize that, it covers all their needs and it solves all their problems, and they don't really need the on-prem anymore. And so they avoid the headache of kind of dealing with the on-prem solution by just going pure cloud. But before they actually do it, they're a little hesitant. They want to be cautious. They want their options open, right? And so that's kind of, what the gist of that was. And that was very interesting, and I think very insightful for folks to understand.
And in terms of the on-premises folks, the recording retention times, were there any sort of interesting sort of stats come out of that? And I'm guessing compliance is also an important consideration. So again, we're talking purely on-prem here, the sort of findings around those issues.
Yeah, so from a retention, we have seen, and there's some data that's not actually even in the survey, but most common, we saw about 30 days of retention as the average, both for in the cloud and on-prem. The on-prem was slightly higher, but we attributed that to the fact that when you're on-prem, you actually have to buy more hardware than you actually need. Because if you're going to expand or add, you have to plan for some expansion when you're buying on-premise hardware. In the cloud, you just click a button and expand. It's not an issue. But if you're on-prem, you got to go buy more hardware, unless you bought some extra hardware up front, extra storage, whatever it is. And so once you buy the extra hardware up front, you might as well use it, right? There's no point in not using it. And so we believe that that's the driving factor for the slightly longer on-prem retention. But compliance-wise, we've seen in both this data and in our anecdotal kind of discussions with customers that compliance with a number of laws that are, being passed in states and different countries is pushing the retention levels higher. There's a lot of laws that require 45 days or 60 days or 90 days in certain environments. Some of those are in drug-related areas or pharmaceuticals. Some of those are in law enforcement. Some of them are in healthcare. Some of them are in, farming. All kinds of different regulations that are kicking in that require video surveillance or require retention on the video surveillance. Some of them even require retention of the video surveillance off-site, i.e. they require cloud. And, there's just a smattering in these regulations, and we're seeing that kind of impact the retention periods quite a bit.
And in terms of compliance as a driver, I'm wondering, maybe is one of the reasons people are reluctant to move to the cloud, the 30-odd% you referenced, because they're just a little bit worried of where their, that recording data on, etc., is being stored. They're not in control of it. And I guess what does the cloud, or do people need to be nervous, or are the cloud folks such as yourself, completely on top of that compliance piece so that they can trust that, if it's off-site, it is somewhere safe?
So, customers have traditionally been a little nervous about the cloud in the video surveillance industry. Okay, with Eagle Eye Networks, they do not have to be worried about their data being in the cloud because we have kind of appropriate cybersecurity measures in place. We have appropriate personnel security measures in place, and all of the video is encrypted and stored redundantly in the cloud. So it's actually significantly better and significantly more secure than having the video on premise. And customers are realizing that. Enterprise customers, larger customers realize that much more quickly and much more thoroughly because they're already deploying cloud-based systems for their email, for their CRM system, for their tax tracking, for their employee benefits. All of these things, corporate companies have moved to the cloud. And the video surveillance has been a little slower to move to the cloud because of bandwidth requirements. But the concerns about the storage of the video are relatively modest these days. Most people realize that storage in the cloud with an appropriate qualified provider like Eagle Eye Networks, who is actually paying attention to it, is significantly better than doing it on premise.
And I don't want to labor the point too much, but just finish on compliance. Do you get people asking sort of where, because again, there are, as you referred to earlier, different countries have different laws, and I'm sure you're aware, the US, Europe sort of rules different, and then of course the UK decided to leave Europe, so there's an added bit of complexity. Do you get asked around the, sort of where the actual recordings are sat and how you can help people understand that?
Yes, actually, where the recordings are stored, i.e. typically what country they are in, is a significant issue for international and customers in other places. So the UK customers want their video stored in the UK, and the French customers want their video in France, and the German customers want their video in Germany. Even the Canadian customers even want their video in Canada because of Homeland Security laws in the US. And so at Eagle Eye, we actually operate data centers in all of the countries. We operate 11 different data centers globally so that the video for the customer can actually stay in their country or in their regulatory domain, and they can not have any issues with that.
Excellent. Right, we'll move on from compliance. And one other sort of issue around the survey, I'm just intrigued in terms of video used to be the only thing people were worried about, and now I'm getting the impression that maybe the audio is also becoming more important to folks. Is that correct?
Yes. So, one of the trends that we saw and made in the report was kind of a steady increase in the amount of audio recording along with the video. So traditional video surveillance of 10 or 20 years ago had zero to no audio recording. But if you look at the percentage, it's going steadily up over the last 4 or 5 years per our report. There's a number of reasons for that we believe. One is we believe people are growing a little more comfortable with it. And two, it's a complexity and cost of deployment factor. Traditionally, deploy microphones was complicated. You have to have a power supply, you have to have a microphone, you got to hook it all up. It's kind of a little arduous. Nowadays, a lot of the cameras have the microphones built into them. And so the deployment of it is much easier for the customers. And we think that that's actually driving a lot of the increase in audio recording. Now, audio recording gets very complicated regulatory and compliance-wise, as you probably know, right? In the United States, every state has different laws on audio recording. And in Europe, every country, not every country, but many different kinds of requirements based on different industries. Asia, same thing. And so we kind of put that in the hands of the customer or the reseller that we're working with as to how they can configure it and how they want to deploy it in order to comply with the local regulations.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe we can move on to some sort of company sort of latest news and information. So I've got a list here because there's quite a lot. So I think you've had some Q1 results, if I'm right. So you can maybe talk us through that.
Yeah.
There's a piece around customer sort of uptake, retention. I think you're doing stuff in the channel and then also expanding the company. So maybe, I know that's quite a lot. So maybe we'll just home in obviously on the Q1 results and then move on as we go.
So yeah, so we had a really great 2020 result where we grew 85% year over year on revenue over 2019. And we just wrapped up, a record first quarter in Q1 of 2021. So we're very pleased with our growth rate and our success. We've also kind of needed to expand our manufacturing and warehousing capabilities quite extensively out in our Austin kind of headquarters area. And so that's been, going quite nicely. We do sell 100% through the channel or through the resellers. And those resellers are, promoting the Eagle Eye product, installing it, maintaining it, and taking care of it for the customers. Not very few of the customers who purchase video surveillance equipment actually want to install and maintain it themselves. That's just not, particularly common. And so the reseller channel and our partners, fulfill that need in a great way and do a great job of doing that. We do a lot of work on training them, providing an Eagle Eye University to, provide them all the information and training for their staff to make that possible. Now, with all this growth, the other kind of investment and area that we're expanding in is the deployment and utilization of AI in the Eagle Eye cloud platform to improve safety, security operations, and customer service for businesses. And this, gets as complicated as, searching in video, deploying counting of, people in retail locations, alerting on safety violations, tracking people's thermal temperatures, for COVID, doing license plate analysis and databases and LPR systems for tracking cars, all kinds of applications being built on the Eagle Eye cloud platform by third parties and by Eagle Eye to meet the needs of customers around the globe. And the amount that AI is going to impact this industry is quite high, right? There's so many things that we can do with AI watching video rather than, security guards or personnel watching video that will be far more effective, far more accurate, and far more cost effective.
Okay, you mentioned COVID in there, and I guess maybe just finally, is in terms of what you've seen during the pandemic, is that obviously it's been horrendous for us all, but I mean, have you had a good pandemic in terms of you've kept yourselves busy, customers have come to you for different reasons, or have you not noticed much? Just any thoughts as to how COVID has affected you and your customers?
Yeah, I mean, so COVID has had its ups and downs. It's been terrible for society and all the people of the world. Okay, I don't think anyone in the world has been untouched by COVID, which is pretty fascinating, actually. I mean, you can't think of many things in the universe or in the world that have actually had an impact on everyone in the world before this. There's very few cases, but in the Eagle Eye case, it was a mixed bag. A lot of things slowed down because of COVID. A lot of retail locations, were not so enthusiastic about spending money on camera systems. Travel was hit really hard, and so those businesses were greatly reduced in their purchases of Eagle Eye Cloud VMS. But other businesses wanted to do more things remotely, okay, and wanted to look at things remotely because the employees were home, they couldn't look at things, and so they actually wanted to deploy cameras that were cloud connected or cloud driven so that they could actually do things remotely, which they would have normally have done on premise. And so in that way, it was a positive impact for Eagle Eye Networks and our cloud VMS. So if you kind of bring that all together, the net was kind of pretty, washed, they canceled each other out. And so we had a nice growth year and good success during COVID, even though it was, a terrible time.
Okay, and just maybe finally back quickly back to the AI. In terms of that, are you yourselves sort of incorporating that in the video surveillance technology, or are you working with partners? And maybe the supplementary to that is, are we at the, as you allude to, AI is sort of taking over the IT universe, everything's getting automated. But are we at the early stage in the video surveillance, or is it already sort of tried and tested and it's just waiting for customers to come and discover it?
Yeah, I would say that a number in the AI front. Okay, let me answer the first part of your question. So Eagle Eye, we operate an open platform, okay? And the platform is documented online and open, and anyone can integrate into it that wants to, okay? And that's an important feature capability for our customers. The customers don't really want to be locked into a single vendor's cameras. They don't want to be locked into a single vendor's AI. They don't want to be locked into features that are only provided by a single vendor, because they're making a long-term investment that might be 10 or 20 years, maybe longer. Changing it's very difficult. And so that's why at Eagle Eye, we support over 10,000 different makes and model of cameras on our system. And we also support literally dozens and dozens of AI providers integrating with our system to provide AI on the Eagle Eye Cloud VMS platform. Now, we are doing some of our own AI, okay, in addition to that, as customers have requested from us, or customers push us, they can't find what they want in the market, or they have needs that, are better served with tighter integrations, or, they're looking for a solution. And so we're working with a number of customers on, specific AI components or specific AI pieces to meet their needs. And so our vision and our belief is that customers want choice, because you don't know exactly what the future needs for your system are going to be. No one realized that, COVID was coming, and, the demands on the video surveillance system were going to drastically change, for example. But our customers were able to adapt kind of quickly and utilize all of the capabilities that we provide on the open platform to meet their new sets of needs. So I think I answered both your questions here.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's been brilliant to chat to you. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the listeners will as well. So, Dean, thanks very much indeed for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much, Phil. It's been great chatting with you, and hope you have a great week.